All right. Welcome to the show. I am joined by John Sheeran, and the Bengals suffered their first loss of the season. And the theme for most people would be that the defense. I'm sorry, one second. Okay. The defense was not able to make tackles when they should have been able to. They were not very good against the run. They were not very good in tackling Cam Newton. And Andy Dalton had a couple of really unfortunate interceptions that turned the momentum of the game. And I don't put those entirely on Dalton or even that much on Dalton. And I think it was more just a series of unfortunate things, and we had the injuries, to a number of critical players. We were already suffering at linebacker with that perfect, and Preston Brown was injured, and we had the offensive line that was already struggling. We lose Billy Price, and Cordy Glenn decided to take a day off. So many things to talk about, really. But what I want to say is that I don't think this is the identity of this year's team. I think this team is much better than what we saw today. So, John, go ahead. I'll let you give the opening statement.
Right. So that's a understandable sentiment based off what we saw in the first 2 weeks. And yes, they were dealing with injuries, but so was and they seem to respond with their depth a lot better than the Bengals did. I think this game was obviously closer than the 10-point deficit that it ended up being, primarily because the total team statistics were pretty similar throughout the game. The Bengals had 2 more first downs. They actually averaged more yards per play than the Panthers did. They ended up with similar total yardage and stuff, but the big difference was obviously 2 things. Bengals run defense got gashed, and me and you kind of both saw this coming with Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey being pretty much too much of a problem to handle against a depleted front seven for the Bengals. 200, I think it was 230 rushing yards allowed by the Bengals defense. You're just not going to allow that much yards on the ground, and the Panthers didn't really have to do anything in the passing offense because of how well they were running the ball and keeping the Bengals defense on the field. You had 4 turnovers for the Bengals compared to none for the Panthers, and that includes a dropped interception by Drake Kirkpatrick. I feel like we say that every week now, and Sam Hubbard not recovering that fumble that Carlos Dunlap forced on a Cam Newton sack. So just obviously unfortunate in that area. Maybe Dalton didn't have exactly as bad of a game as the 4 interceptions would say, because one of them was on the Hail Mary at the very end of the game. So, yeah, it was just, the Panthers are still a talented team, and I kind of alluded to that. We both alluded to some of those matchups on the Panthers offense being a little too tough for the Bengals defense and in its current state right now to overcome, and the better team won today. Basically, that's all it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to question the coaching overall. I mean, there were some problems in terms of preparation, but there were just some problems in terms of tackling, and I don't know exactly how you fix that, especially when you have so many guys out. But one question that I had, and maybe you can answer, is Giovanni ran the ball pretty well. I mean,
Yeah, he did.
A big chunk of his yards were on that 22-yard run. But he still averaged like 5 yards a carry, but he only got, I think, 12 carries.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas we know that Mixon would have gotten more. We know that. And we saw Mark Walton, he had that one big carry that was called back for holding, but he looked good on that one. And you think about okay, look, our defense is not doing a very good job of stopping their offense. They're losing their receivers in coverage all over the place. And so how about we try to keep their offense off the field? Because our offense wasn't exactly on fire like it was the first couple weeks, and AJ Green goes down. Why were we not, running the ball more? I know we had a 2-touchdown deficit at one point, but I mean, overall, it wasn't like a blowout. Why not go to Giovanni and a little bit more and get Mark Walton involved?
Yeah, I think Bernard had more carries in the first half than he did in the second half, and that was primarily because once the second half was underway, the Bengals were already down 7, and then in the second half total, they were always trailing. So it's just hard. It's just hard to if you're not dominating the run game like Carolina was, it's hard to keep going back and forth when obviously the Bengals still had options in the passing game to go to, and they just unfortunately just didn't. Obviously, the issues with Ross obviously hurt. Boyd had a great game, and the tight ends Tyler Eifert and C.J. Uzomah had great games as well. But once Green kind of went out, the passing game was way too volatile to succeed in terms of sustaining drives and whatnot. And you're right, Bernard had a decent game in the box score, but a lot of those, I think he had like the vast majority of his 61 yards on maybe a couple of carries, and the blocking didn't always do so great for him. But great yards for himself behind a makeshift offensive line against a good Panthers front seven. And yeah, like obviously, like the difference in the run games for both teams obviously tell the story of this game and how methodically marched down the field multiple times with McCaffrey, gashing the Bengals defense in a multitude of ways. And while Bernard, was decent, I guess the fact that they were trailing in key parts of the game is why Bernard just couldn't really get the usage that might have changed the game around.
Yeah, well, I want to take a little trip into the comments section. And I don't know if this is a comment about the fact that your hair has grown out or not, John, but the Shafante Gunn, your stylist, says hi. Yeah, he's here. He's saying hi. So it might be time to give him a visit.
Yeah. No, I'd literally just went to Great Clips like less than a week ago. Janisha cut my hair. I think you were cutting someone else's hair, Shafante. Unfortunately, okay. But I got you next time.
Yeah. But he also says the ball needs to come out of Andy Dalton's hand faster. Like I said, the first two interceptions were really unfortunate. The fourth one was the one where I don't know, was that the third one, the fourth one? Yeah.
Right. So why don't we just go through them one at a time? So the first one was forced to Ross, and Ross didn't. It kind of reminded me of like one of those interceptions he had against the Jets a couple of years ago, but I think I didn't see the replay, but I was told that Ross didn't exactly box out Dante Jackson, the rookie cornerback out of Carolina, and ended up being a great interception by Jackson just on a contested play that maybe Ross isn't best suited for. So if you want to put that on Dolan, fine. If you want to put that on Ross, fine. I can understand both sides of that.
Ross is such a slender, frame. Like you expect him to box. I mean, you got to kind of know your players a little better.
Yeah, for sure. And then the second one, I believe it was on a slant route off an RPO, and the cornerback kind of jumped it because the Bengals run that play a ton. And I don't. Do we know if that was to Ross or not?
No, there's the tip one to Josh Malone. That wasn't the second one. The one that flew up into the air. That was the Josh.
Yeah,
Malone,
exactly.
I think.
Josh Malone. It tipped off because the cornerback collided with Malone at the catch point, and then the ball tipped up in the air. Yeah, you're right. So like scheme wise, like maybe if it's AJ Green, he boxes out the cornerback a little bit better because Josh Maloney's not that experienced in terms of route running. But I think that was a great play made by the defense in recognizing a common play call in the Bengals offense, and then they just happened to catch a ball floating in the air. And then the third one, I believe, this was the worst one for Ross. It was just that deep post that Ross didn't even know the ball came his way, and the ball did kind of look like a duck from Andy Dalton, but Ross never gave him a chance because he never saw it.
Yeah, and so there's four though, right? So the fourth one.
Yeah, and the last one was just a Hail Mary at the end of the game. It doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, I was already, I'd already turned the game off. Well, no, I had to drive to be able to record this show. That's why. But no, people are being harsh on Ross. They're saying Ross is trash. He's a bum. I don't agree. Now, if you recall, I was not in favor of drafting him number 9 overall, just because he doesn't seem like a safe pick for such a high draft pick. But that doesn't mean, I do think he will develop into, at the very least, a very, very dangerous third option at some points. I'm very confident about that. But it's not just that it's basically his rookie year. It's a guy who's gone through a lot mentally, physically. And we're talking about, an offense that was the worst or one of the worst in the league last year. So they're trying to figure out how to use him. So they're going to learn how to use him over time, and they're not rushing it. I think maybe because they were behind, there was a couple of forced passes to Ross. But in general, look, he hasn't gotten that many targets because he hasn't been ready. So when he's ready, he's going to get them.
And he's proven that he's still just not fully mentally prepared, and that came with just not finishing a couple of those routes that led to 2 interceptions. Not only just not finishing the routes, but just not having the awareness to look back at the ball when that route was finished. Because Dahl did a good job of escaping some pockets today, because, like you mentioned, Cordy Glenn looked like a turnstile at times at left tackle, and he made some good plays on the run. But I think he trusts Boyd. Obviously, he has to have formed a special connection with Boyd over the offseason, because they have a certain thing going. Boyd had a great game, and Boyd has that presence of mind to kind of look back for the ball, and Ross is still kind of going through the motions and is basically a rookie. And I still think the talent is obviously still there, because when he did get the ball, he did look pretty good, catching some short passes. But yeah, the mental preparation it's just not there yet. And if Green misses the Atlanta game, he's going to be relied on a lot more, and he's going to need a huge bounce back game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just look back to Tyler Boyd's second season, and people were wondering if they should trade him, if they should cut him. Oh, he has no value. Oh, he's slow, and he's got the, what is he? He had some sort of legal issue. I don't know. And it's like, he's not even producing. He had like 2 snaps or something early season. And then, later in the season, he puts it all together and he makes the biggest play of the season, all that. They're 2 very different players, obviously, because Boyd is the crisp route runner who makes up for that lack of speed with his technical ability. And Ross is, he's good. He's not just a burner. He's not like an Olympic sprinter or something. He's a football player. But he's got to learn the kind of define the nuances of the game, the way the route running, the way Boyd has, But John, I remember a time in the NFL where you really didn't expect receivers to contribute until their 3rd season. Now everything's different, Now everybody expects the immediate contribution. It was back in this time, you didn't have rookie quarterbacks starting, but it's still. The receivers, it is one of the tougher positions. Your receiver, cornerback, the ones that you really need to know the game, and you need to be able to predict things. I don't like judging receivers this early, personally.
Yeah, that is the common train of thought when it comes to the position. But the game has evolved to a point where production, just general offensive production, is so much easier nowadays, and coordinators and quarterbacks are doing so much more in terms of scheming guys open. And I think that's something that they've started doing with Green in his 8th year, putting him in the slot has done wonders for him. They're still not really using Ross, I think, to his full potential. They haven't done any shallow crosses or used him on any mesh concepts over the middle to use that speed. You look at Tyreek Hill and how he gets his production. It's not just on vertical routes. He eats cushion over the middle and on short stuff. It's still not something that we're seeing really with Ross. And to your point, receivers do make that, sometimes have to take a couple years to make that full transition into the professional game. But I think nowadays, Bill Lazor has to be accountable in terms of using Ross to his full potential, even if Ross still fully isn't there. They need to use his talent, because the offense still needs it, even with Boyd producing and the tight ends producing.
All right, so I want to talk about the comments again. Some people, 2 things. One, they're asking about if the D line really played to its potential today. They made some plays, but I think most people's focus was on the linebackers not doing their job. But yeah, our defensive line, we do expect them to be rocket stars. So, John, how would you grade their performance?
So I think Lawson, once again, the dude has come so close to a sack this season. He just hasn't been able to get one. He beat their backup left tackle, I think Chris Clark is his name, multiple times, and just couldn't get to Cam Newton in time. But in the second half, my good friend on Twitter, Ryan Patrick, said it. I think that Dunlap was the only guy who looked like he really wanted to win out there, and he had a great second half. He had the pass deflection, the strip sack, full tackle, looked really good. And again, it was an easy matchup for the Bengals defensive line against a Panthers offensive line that obviously was dealing with injuries just like the Bengals. So Geno Atkins didn't really do anything against the Panthers guards. Andrew Billings and Ryan Glasgow got destroyed up the middle. Jordan Willis at times was setting the edge. It looked like Dunlap and just a bunch of backups against the Panthers offensive line. And the Panthers kind of recognized it because McCaffrey ended up with like 20 touches, but I think we wondered last week he had 14 receptions against the Falcons. This week they realized, okay, we can just pound the ball in the middle because the Bengals have no answers in the middle of their defense, and that's basically what ended up happening as no defensive tackle for the Bengals. Nope, the Hardy Nickerson and middle linebacker, they just could not handle the way they gassed him up the middle, and that was just it was just the game.
Yeah, I mean, Christian McCaffrey had 184 yards rushing. And, I mean, that's just, I don't know what to say about that. But another comment was about Auden Tate's not being used. I know groin injuries can be tricky. We really hope AJ Green is back. But if, let's say, AJ Green has to miss a game or two, do you think Auden
But was Tate active? Was he active for this game?
No, that's what I think they're asking. Why was is he not active? Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if the only really reliable receiver after AJ Green is Tyler Boyd at this point. Now, does that speak to our receivers and where they are in their development, or more to Andy Dalton and his comfort level? Because he was very comfortable throwing to his tight ends and to Tyler Boyd, but not so comfortable throwing to other receivers. So I don't know if Tate would make a difference. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Cody Core got the nod in terms of being active, and he made a good. I think he downed a punt inside the 1 yard line. So he made his contribution on special teams, and that's why he was out there in the first place, because they like him on special teams. That's why, with 7 receivers on the team, with all of them being healthy now, that's why Tate was going to be the healthy scratch. So that's why he didn't play. Depending on Green's health, I don't know how long this groin injury is going to affect him, but I think they should probably plan to not have him against Atlanta, which sucks because you want to see Green versus Julio. But yeah, if Green is out, then I'm assuming Tate will be active next week. I'm just not sure that he's going to get that many targets, just because we're talking about John Ross in his second year, still not mentally prepared. Auden Tate's an actual rookie. He's 21 years old, and in the preseason, he still didn't look like he knew how to run routes that well. So I don't think he's going to be that involved in the offense, if at all, next week.
Yeah. So look, we have about a 2-week countdown until Vontaze Burfict is back. Next test is going to be a big one at Atlanta, but let's say long-term outlook with Vontaze Burfict, can Terrell Austin get the job done? Because we were really disappointed in this performance today. It's not just about the final score. It's the fact that, David Funchess, he's a nobody receiver. Really. I'm not going to say nobody, but I mean, he's not the household name receiver type of guy. He didn't have a huge game.
Right. His name is, David. It's Devin.
Oh, okay. So, there you go. There you go. You proved my point. I thought his name was David for the longest time. Yeah, so there you go, Devin. Did he just change it after the game, or it was always Devin?
It was always Devin.
Okay. So, I apologize, Devin. And I'm not trying to say you're not talented. Obviously, you're very talented. But what I'm trying to say, because I know he watches the show, what I'm trying to say is this, is that and it wasn't like he had like 100 and something yards, but the yards that they got seemed to come easy. Okay. And that's the kind of thing that angers football fans. When it comes easy to the opposing offense, you're like, come on, guys. Are you not trying? What's wrong? And some of the blame has to fall on Terrell Austin. I know it's his first year and all that, but we expected an aggressive, motivated defense. We expected a defense that was mentally more prepared than what we saw with Gunther. So
so I think that once Burfict comes back, like the data of 7 years with Burfict on the team has shown that they're just simply more effective with Burfict on the field, and that makes sense because he's one of their most talented players. And obviously, the linebackers that they have right now, they're not playing up to the potential that they want, that they obviously want. They have the backup at middle linebacker, Jordan Evans, Nick Vigil didn't really had good seasons to start off so far, besides Vigil's week 1 game. But yeah, it's obvious that, or it's always easy to create separation against Drake or Patrick, and that's exactly what Devin Funchess did on 67 yards. But again, the Panthers didn't really need to pass the ball that much, just because running with McCaffrey just worked so easily. And when Cam didn't find any separation down the field, he could just take off and run. I don't think he did that much damage, but when he did, it was in crucial moments. So obviously, it was just a case of, I don't think that many options as to how to stop Cam and McCaffrey with how depleted their defense was, and without obviously Burfict and Preston Brown and Michael Johnson and Glasgow go down with an injury. I think Andrew Billings came up limp at a certain point, and Sean Williams kept making stupid mistakes and took a horrible angle on that first McCaffrey run. Overall, just abysmal performance by the defense, even with the injuries. And again, against the talented offense, but it's not like Atlanta doesn't have a talented offense either. Julio Jones can't find the ball in the end zone, but they put up like 40 points against the Saints this week, and the Bengals offense will probably be relied on to score around that if this defense is going to continue to perform like this.
Yeah, just two real things in the comment section I want to address. So Adrian V says, do you think Hardy Nickerson should play over other linebackers? And Brandon Welker. No, okay. And
No.
Brandon Welker says he was very pleasantly surprised, delightfully surprised by Vigil's performance today, that he always seems to be involved. John, is there hope for this linebacking core?
There's hope when Burfict comes back. The hope always was that, I think in the first 3 weeks that opposing offenses have found a way to keep the Bengals in their base defense with 3 linebackers on the field. With Burfict on the field and nickel, that only leaves one other linebacker, presumably Nick Vigil, to play for the majority of the snaps on the defense. But when you have, Jordan Evans still kind of going through the motions, Hardy Nickerson, who's a backup in this league at best, and Nick Vigil, all on the field at the same time, you can really expose some of their weaknesses in terms of taking on blocks and getting off blocks. And that's exactly kind of what we saw today. But, and we can still say, we're just waiting for Burfict to come back. But every time we wait for him to come back, shortly afterwards, he leaves us again for either suspension or injury. So I would like to see Malik Jefferson potentially getting some time, because I don't think Vinny Ray is going to be much better than Hardy Nickerson if Preston Brown continues to miss games down the road. But I would like to see at least them try on some rundowns just to see what he can do. Maybe move around some guys, because Nickerson and Evans did not play very well today.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I hate to say this, I hate to make excuses, but it seems like it was just a bad game from the start. I don't know if they weren't prepared, or I don't know what it was.
They were up 7-0. They were up 7-0 in the beginning. It looked great. The offense had
that interception, that Dalton interception, and I don't want to put it on Dalton, but there was just like, I felt before that, I felt everything was going our way,
Sounds like you're talking about momentum, which some people say exist.
That's what I was trying to. No, momentum exists. John, momentum exists. Oh, you're saying it does exist.
Oh, yeah. Some people say it doesn't, and those people are wrong.
Okay, I feel like you're making fun of me in your typical new school analytics type of approach. But yeah.
Momentum is the most genuine form of analytics, and everybody knows it.
I like this. That's my type of analytics. But yeah, so that's I hate to say it, but that, and then also we were coming back. What was in the third quarter with the one that was tipped into the air? We were down by 7 again. We were rolling, because Dalton, man, I like the job. I keep talking about Laser. I was talking about him last season, but people weren't really listening because we had such a bad season. But I like the job he's doing. And Dalton's rolling out, making athletic throws like Aaron Rodgers style. I haven't seen it before. Even in 2015, I didn't really see this. And so I'm really impressed with the growth of Dalton. And you look at this game, you say, what, 4 interceptions? Okay, 2 of them were, come on, end of the game, whatever, with a minute left. One of those bad in the air. And the other one was like you said, John Ross not boxing. Okay, we'll split it, 50-50, Dalton and Ross, fine. But he's doing things he hasn't done before. And so that's why, you think about it, they finally had to break Eifert out of his glass case. They had to use him a little bit this game. And, he looked good. He made a really athletic grab. They're going to use him some more. We're going to get Mixon back very soon. I think Mixon, he was on the surgery table and he was trying to play football right there. That's how eager he was to get back on the field. This guy's going to be back real soon. Hopefully AJ Green be back because he missed, most of the second half. So I think the problems of the defense, we know where they are. It's on the linebacking and Drake Kirkpatrick, basically. But I think the offense and defensive line can make up for it. So I still see a winning season, in the horizon.
I predicted a loss, but I really felt that on the Carlos Dunlap forced fumble when Sam Hubbard literally fell on it and didn't recover it. That would have put the Bengals inside the 30-yard line, and then the Panthers ended up punting.
Right.
Boyd had a long play. The Bengals got to the 35. Randy Bullock does what he does beyond 50 yards
Right.
and misses. I think the Bengals recover that fumble. At the very least, Bullock gets a shorter field goal. He probably
Yeah.
makes, and the
Yeah.
score is a little bit closer.
They're
And
down by
maybe
4.
things happen.
Yeah. Down by 4.
And then Hubbard barely missed, or he barely blocked the punt. And
Right.
had he gotten his full hand on it,
Yeah.
again, it game inches sometimes.
Well, we don't want to make too many excuses, but yeah, exactly what I'm trying to say. Now, somebody made a good point, which is DBK614. He said it might have been the humidity that gave the defense problems, and that's the kind of answer I'm looking for. I'm saying it just looked like they were not in their game.
The humidity gave Luke Kuechly problems for sure. He had to get an IV for hydration.
There you go. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm trying to say.
Still.
It seemed like something was off. You know, but I mean, in general, John, over the years, we have seen these kind of performances from non-perfect Bengals defenses. It's like when Burfict's out, there's always that chance that people are just going to tear us up across the middle, like the whole game. And that's what that's what we kind of saw when we talk about McCaffrey. This was his game. This was the perfect game for McCaffrey. He can catch the, you know, he can run the. He just had a field day, man. So, anyways, not a fun day. And obviously, our viewers aren't having fun. We have about half the viewers we normally do, but it's understandable. Nobody wants to talk about this loss much more. So with that, we can end this show. And even, you know, Hoji was, you know, so bothered by the game that he didn't show up to work today. But we will be back. You know, we maybe do a film review if we can, middle of the week. If not, we'll see you after the next game. So long, Sweetie Pies.